there to hear those comments. And I always refer explanations of people's comments back to them.
Dr. Carson.
One more question.
Sir?
Bernie Sanders has said that he wants to debate Republicans before the general election during the primaries. Would you be open to a debate like that with Bernie Sanders and members of both parties?
I'm open to debates anytime, not a problem. The more information is better.
Dr. Carson, there is a sizable African American atheist population. When you come to an event like this, are you still seeking their vote?
African American atheist population?
Yes, sir.
I would be seeking the votes of all Americans. I wouldn't necessarily divide people up into segments and groups, because so many of the things that affect us as a nation in terms of our survival don't have anything to do with their little special group. You know, it is our divisiveness, it is our lack of fiscal responsibility, and it is our failure to take a leadership position in the world. Those are the things that are going to result in our destruction. And it will result in everybody's destruction. And I guarantee you, when the jihadists get over here, they're not going to ask you whether you're gay or straight, black or white, Republican or Democrat, before they cut your head off.
Dr. Carson, you're continuing to give paid speeches while you're on the campaign trail, and I've seen that you have some scheduled coming up. So through the Washington Speakers Bureau. So what's behind your decision to do that? I know other candidates have in the past.
Well, I think I have 2, maybe 3 left. I used to do more than 100 a year, and of course they were scheduled far in advance. So, you know, tried to get rid of all of them, but you know, there are a few straggling events. And some people have said to me, why don't you just cancel those? Well, what they don't recognize is that these people have spent enormous amounts of money, time, and energy getting sponsors, selling tables. Frequently, this is their annual budget that we're talking about. And for me just to walk out on them is unethical.
Dr. Carson, Governor Scott Walker got into the election this week. Do you see he's been leading the Iowa polls since January? Is it important for your campaign to win in Iowa? And if so, how would you surpass somebody like Governor Walker?
I have one major goal here, and that is to try to save our country. And in the process of doing that, I'm going to be speaking the truth. I mean, speaking what I believe in. I don't have speech writers. I speak from the heart. And hopefully people will resonate with that in Iowa, in all of the early states. But my job is to make sure that they have that choice. And that they have a choice of returning the United States of America to a place that is of, for, and by the people. The people are supposed to be at the pinnacle. The government is supposed to be there to facilitate life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. I am a strong believer in that, and that's what I'm going to offer to the people. Would I like to win all the states? Of course I would. But, you know, it's obviously up to the people.
But how do you win a state like Iowa? There's several people obviously leading ahead of you. I mean, what's the way forward? How do you do it?
Well, we're at least several months away from the Iowa caucus. You continue to spread the word, spread the truth, get in front of people, let them see who you are, not who the media says you are. That's how you know.
Dr. Carson, you talked about Frank Lunsford and how you discovered the Republican Party. In order if you put yourself back in those shoes for a second, how you would react to a candidate like Donald Trump, given his statements on Mexico and Senator McCain especially?
I think everybody has their niche. Everybody has their voice. I think we need to hear from everybody. And, you know, that's the beauty of the process that we have. The people will have the opportunity to make the choice. Not the media, not the pundits, but the people. All we have to do is make sure that we allow the voices to be heard. I don't feel any necessity to comment on what those voices are.
Dr. Carson?
What would you say is Donald Trump's niche in this race?
I think that's a decision that will be made by the people.
Dr. Carson, given the Obamacare gay marriage rulings, the Iran deal, are you less optimistic about the direction of the country than you were 6 months ago?
Well, 6 months ago we were heading in a bad direction, and we're still heading in a bad direction. And I think we'll be still heading in a bad direction until we get a new administration.
Dr. Carson, you said you let other campaigns speak for themselves. Is Senator John McCain a war hero?
It depends on your definition of a war hero. I think he has done some wonderful things. Certainly the history is consistent with what we would consider a war hero. So do we take that away from him? And because some people disagree with him politically, I think that's probably a stupid way to do that.
In your definition, is he a war hero?
I believe Senator McCain has done some wonderful things.
Dr. Carson, the conservative movement has become very religious. If you become our president, how are you going to convince non-religious and minority religious Americans that you're also their president?
Because the things that we talk about will be the things that affect all Americans. When we talk about liberty and justice for all, we're not talking about liberty and justice for Christians, liberty and justice for atheists, liberty and justice for gays, liberty and justice for straights. And this is where we have gone off the rails most recently. We pick and choose who is the flavor of the day and how do we, make things better for them. That is absolutely the wrong philosophy for a country that is based on equality for all groups.
Dr. Carson, what is your reaction to the recent Planned Parenthood video where they talk about the sale of fetus body parts?
Well, as a pediatric neurosurgeon, my whole career was around saving lives. I even operated on babies that were still in the mother's womb. And recognize that these infect our babies. We try to characterize them as a mass of tissue that really doesn't mean anything, and therefore you can just get rid of it. Obviously, I vehemently disagree with that. And this video just sort of adds fuel to the fire, but in a way it helps to shake people up and let them realize the level of depravity that has crept into our society, where we can sit there and sell and distribute the liver and the heart and the lungs and the various parts. Now, those people who say it's just a mass of cells, it doesn't mean anything. If that's the case, how can it have a liver and a lung and a heart and all these other special tissues that they're looking for? That doesn't make any sense. They need to stop and re-examine their arguments.
Are you against fetal tissue research, medical research?
I do not believe that there is a single thing that has been accomplished that could not be accomplished without fetal tissue.
Including the polio vaccine?
Including the polio vaccine.
How else could that have been done? I don't have a medical background.
Well, you can use other tissue forms and other types of cultures. It doesn't have to be done that way.
At the time that the polio vaccine was created, there were other methods they could have done, and millions of people should have suffered.
There are always alternatives. Do I believe in vaccines? Absolutely. Have they saved a lot of lives? Absolutely. Are there ways to do it without killing babies? Yes, there are. And if there are ways to do it without killing babies, I'm all for it.
Okay, we can take one more question.
Dr. Carson, how would you unify the United States? Right now, it seems like we're so ununified. And when Barack Obama became president, he said he was going to be a unifier, which doesn't seem to be the case. So how would you, as president, unify the country?
Well, I think the bully pulpit is an excellent place to talk about the things that we have in common versus the things that separate us. And we need to start phrasing things in terms of what's pro-American and what's anti-American versus what's pro-Democrat and what's pro-Republican. I think that's what's destroying us. We need to talk about the relationship between a woman and that baby inside of her. She is the protector of that baby, not the enemy of that baby. We need to help people to realize that what makes a person is their brain. It's not their skin, their nose, or their hair. We need to help people recognize that one generation has an obligation to the next generation. There's not a war between them. We need to help people recognize that your religious beliefs are sacred in our society and are to be guarded in a very legitimate way. We need to help people to understand that as one person succeeds and accumulates wealth, and they're able to give back in form of taxes or other ways, it actually lifts others. And we shouldn't be looking at him saying, he's still got all this, let's get the rest of it. That's called socialism. That doesn't work in our society. We need the kind of leadership that actually can explain that to people and help them to recognize that if we work together, we're going to be all much better off.